Take one.
Yeah, and action. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Offbeat Motors. I'm Corey. This is my father, Ward, also referred to as Old Man. Today we're going to give you guys an inside on how the Streetrod came about. Basically bring you all up to speed from when we got it, which was, what was it, 1989?
89, yeah.
1989 when we first got the car, and to 19 years later when it finally hit the road for the first time, and to today. So like I said, this is my father, Ward, and he's basically going to give you guys all the information on it because he's touched every aspect of this car since the day he's got it. So first I guess we'll start out with 1989, where the car came from. So
I was coming home from, I forget where, a bar probably, and I see it parked in a guy's yard, and he had a for sale sign on it, so I wheeled in. Come to find out I knew the gentleman, and we haggled back and forth, and we settled on a price of $50. Now mind you, there was no floor, just a frame, a body, a front axle, and a rear axle. So I bought it for 50 bucks. I lived about 5 miles from there. So he had a tow truck, so I talked him into bringing it over to the house. He wanted $50 to tow it, and I told him, I just gave you 50. So we settled on a 6-pack, and he brought it to the house. I got him to the 6-pack. He drank 3, I drank 3, he went home. I think I got a good deal. So that's how we got the thing. Now, I didn't have a garage at the time, so I bought a $50 car. The first thing I had to do was put up a $15,000 garage.
it was a pretty good sized garage too.
Yeah. I called it a one car. Building inspector differed, but we had words.
The door was high enough to where you could actually bring a semi-truck in it.
Yeah.
So
I like big garages. Unfortunately, now I have a small one. But
yeah.
Back to the car. I started with just taking some simple measurements, thinking about what I was going to do with it, and what it really was started out as a father-son project. It was my father who had always said we're going to build something together. Well, that never happened. About a year after I got it, he came down with cancer and a few years later died. But I buried it in the garage.
you could barely tell the car was in the garage. There was so much crap on it.
It sat there for a good 15, 16 years, and I didn't even look at it. And finally, we were out having a few drinks one night on the backyard, watching the fire, listening to music. And a friend of mine and my wife both said that I should go out in the garage and start working on the car. So my buddy, Barry Estes, he said he'd give me a hand. So we pulled it out. I dug it out the next day. He came over to the house and we started taking measurements again. I got out the drawings that I had made years before. We drew it out on the garage floor, and we started welding and cutting, and the more we welded, the worse it got. So we had to stop and make some major changes. We got the frame off because it was hitting the back, it was hitting the front, so the frame was pretty well twisted up. So I boxed in the frame best I could down the side rails, and
So basically underneath the body of the cars.
yeah, it was all box frame. Took the X member out and made new cross members and stuff. We cut the frame off just in front of the firewall.
Yeah, I'll show you guys that right now. So this is right where he cut it off. You can see where it's all boxed in here, and then it comes into the tubular frame here. And you and Barry built all this tube frame,
Yeah,
welded it together.
Yep.
They bent it and everything. And tell them how you bent it.
I didn't have a tubing bender. I had a big 1.5 by 2 inch 6 foot long piece of square tubing, solid square, it wasn't tubing, it's solid square stock. and I had a 13-inch rim. So I welded the rim to it, and I stuck the pipe up through it, the opening in the rim, and just pulled up, heated it a little bit, and pulled on it, and put a jack underneath it, and jacked it up a little more. And like I said, we had it drawn out on the floor. I laid it on the floor, on the template. It matched up, so we made another side. And that's how we bent things. And it takes a while, but you learn.
Yeah, you can see the bend right there. And it's
Right in
same
front
on
of the
this
shocks
side.
here.
Yeah, right where the shocks connect in. So that was like the first thing you guys ended up doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing we done.
Because you had to get that taken care of before you could really get going on the rest of the car.
Then we decided on an engine, and of course we had this. I had a 6-cylinder Chevrolet, so I set that on the mock-up where the frame was, and we made some adjustments so that a 6-cylinder straight 6 is the only motor you can put in it right now. There's no room for a V8. I wanted to make sure nobody ever put one in it, so I built the frame around the motor. So after we got that done, we decided to work on it. Barry had left. He had gone to, he had moved here to Texas. By that time, I was still in New York. So after Barry left, I finished up on the chassis, got my front end situated, converted the stock 1937 Plymouth front axles. I converted it to disc brakes. They're off in a 77 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Now you guys, you Plymouth guys and Dodge guys, there's a place, I believe it's in West Virginia, called Plydo. You can't find them online. I think the guy that ran it is dead, but his wife and son, I think, are still running it. All kinds of old Plymouth parts. I ordered the kingpins and bushings and everything. They came in the original box from the factory. OEM parts.
For a 37 Plymouth.
For a 37 Plymouth. So if you can find him and you're working on a Dodge, that's the guy to call. I think you can find him in a old Streetrod magazine in the back section where all the advertisement is. That's where I found it.
Like Streetrod magazines from the 90s?
Yeah. That's where I found it. It's called Plydo. Alright. So we got that done. At the time I was working in a maintenance shop, so I took the spindles with me and I machined them, the back so the bearings would fit. Put the front end together, got that underneath it, got the 4-bar suspension put on it.
I'll show you guys 4-bar. So there's the 37 Plymouth front axle right there. There's the 4-bar that he was just talking about. And he had to make all these brackets, everything. It's not something you could just buy. Everything had to be made, basically.
Oh yeah.
So there's the Monte Carlo brakes that were adapted to the 37 Plymouth spindles.
Well, after some more measuring, which you do a lot of when you're doing this stuff, I found out that the body didn't fit where I wanted it to. Now that I had the motor in it and transmission, which I'll tell you about the transmission in a little bit. That was a fun trip. So I moved the firewall back 6 inches because I wanted to move the body, and I wanted enough room so I wouldn't have to fool around with anything and just pull the valve cover if I wanted to. That was my game plan. That didn't work out. But anyways, I moved the firewall back 6 inches, widened it, I think it was 3 inches to get it to fit. Then I moved the body back 4 inches, and I moved the wheel wells up 4 inches, up, and then forward 4 inches. And then I took 8.5 inches off the bottom of the doors. So I made my own underneath the doors. Then I cut 19.5 inches off the trunk. So after I had the basic shape that I wanted, then we had to get the rake. I wanted that stock car rake to it. Because that was my basic game plan, was make it look like an old stock car. So. We got that done. I had a 3-speed transmission in it. You can't go across the street with a 3-speed transmission without tacking it out. I'm running 410 gears in the rear. So I said, well, I called a local salvage yard, junkyard, and got a real...
Was it Ray Salvage?
No, it was one over in Argyle.
Okay.
Up in the middle of nowhere. Guy was a little shady, but what the hell? I didn't care. He said he had a 5-speed transmission out of a Trans Am. So I said, well, I want it. So I went over, drove over there. Come to find out, transmission's still in the car. Sitting in the mud, no wheels on it. Car in front of it, car in back of it, car on each side of it, right tight to the doors. No way you could get underneath it. Well, he wanted $100 for the transmission from bell housing. It's fine. So I went back up to the office and asked him, I said, how much you want for that transmission if you pull it? He said, $125. I said, here's my phone number. Call me when you get it out. The next day he called me. You can't find a 5-speed for a V8 car for $125. I thought it was a heck of a buy. Well,
It's been working pretty good in this car because it's been in there since
2008?
Yeah.
Yeah. I put it in 2008.
So 10 years later,
Yeah.
nothing's ever been done with it.
No. The only thing I had to do to it was in a Camaro or a Trans Am, 88 and up.
Oh, the shifter.
Yeah, the transmission set at an angle. They were twisted sideways, so the shifter would come out and come up. Well, when I put it in, I had to put it straight up. And the shifter hit the seat, so you couldn't shift it. So I went back to the junkyard, got me an S10 shifter, which comes out of the transmission right straight.
Those are straight up and down shifters.
Yep. Well, the difference is the pin that holds the ball in, you got to drill that out because you got to use the 5-speed out of the Trans Am ball. So I did that, and it kept popping out of gear on me. Well, come to find out, the S10 shifter was bigger around, and it hit the casing. It wouldn't allow it to go into second or fourth all the way. It would go into first and the top 3, but it wouldn't go in the bottom 2.
First, third, and fifth was perfectly fine going in.
Yeah, but they pop out of the other ones. So I had to take my Dremel tool and kind of cut a groove in it, round it out a little bit. Kept trying it, put it back in, go for a ride. No, that didn't work. Pull it back out, do it some more. Finally got it where it would engage properly. And then we haven't had a problem with it since. And I beat right to death on it. So, but anyways.
I have 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell them about what you done with it. The rear suspension is all 1969 Chevy pickup. They got the long trailing arms, coil springs. So I modified that to fit underneath here. I took everything underneath the Chevy pickup I took. 6-lug rear end, posi, put that all underneath. Got a panhard rod holding it center-wise, just like I had in the Chevy in the pickup.
Let's see if we can't get a shot underneath it. So there's the rear axle. Woo, chrome. I don't know if you can see the trailing arms. Then you got the panhard rod that goes from the axle right up to the frame here.
Well, now that he showed you where the panhard rod hooks to the frame,
I know where this is going.
yo, I should hope so. He come and got the car one day, and he wanted to go pick his brother-in-law up or whatever at work.
Yeah, he was working at an amusement park called Great Escape in Lake George, New York. It's a Six Flags owned place.
So he went to pick him up, and apparently, leaving the place, somebody had said that the car was a piece of junk. So Corey, being Corey, not taking that well, got onto it pretty hard, come out of the parking lot sideways, and on the way home, he noticed that it was making a noise that it didn't make before. So we get home, he gets home, comes and gets me. Now mind you, I just had my shoulder operated on. So he comes and gets me. We go out in the car. I get down on a creeper. I tell him, I said, all right, push up and down on it. Because he told me every time it hits a bump, it makes a noise. I said, push down on the car and let it go. So he did. He bounced it back and forth. I found it. He had ripped the panhard rod off from the chassis. It was bent right over. The rear end had moved over about 3 inches. How it didn't rub is beyond me. So,
Oops.
I tell him what it is. He looks at me and he goes, well, I'm going to Vegas. Have it done when I get back, will you please? I got it done, one-handed, but I got it back where it belonged, welded it back in, added some support so he couldn't do it again.
It sounds up.
Let's face it, you guys at Hot Rod, you all know, if you're not breaking something, you're not having any fun.
And you're not doing it right.
You're not doing it right. And you got to find the weak spots anyways. So that was one of our weak spots, and I reinforced it. So that's taken care of. Now, the motor, that was another one of them screwed up deals, I guess. The motor came out of a 73 Chevy pickup truck, 3/4 ton or a 1 ton, I can't remember. The deal was, I had a Ford 4-wheel drive with a snowplow on it. I sold it to a guy.
The blue turd?
Yeah. No, the Jackass.
Okay.
The old George Chadwick's.
Yeah, I know which one it is now.
I sold it to a guy. And he took the truck. I knew the guy, trusted him, told him to take it on payments. Well, he didn't pay me. He ended up in jail for drugs. So I called his father and said, hey, your son owes me X number of dollars. He says, I'll bring his truck over. I said, well, I want his motor. He says, good, I'll bring the truck over. You can have the motor. So he brought the truck over. I pulled the motor out. He took the truck home on a tow truck. Thought it was a good deal. Ran the motor for, just in stock form for, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. Had to tear it down, do a valve job, board it. Brought the horsepower up a little bit. They were always down on horsepower. So, built it up to about, maybe 150, 170 horse. Little mild cam in it, nothing major. And that's pretty much the way I left it for quite some time until we got down here to Texas. And I was up on I-45 and racing a Mustang, one of you young guys.
Granted, it doesn't have a lot of horsepower, but the motor, it's all torque. So
Yeah, it's got all gods of torque.
Yeah.
So I was running this Mustang, stock Mustang, and I missed a shift. And they don't, a 6-cylinder, straight 6, they don't like anything over 6,000 RPMs in stock form. So I brought it home on 3 cylinders. And I decided that the wife come out. She says, I heard you coming. What'd you do? And I told her, I said, I can fix it for about $2,000. Don't worry about it. Yeah. I spent over that in the head. So,
you know, that $2,000, that's only what you tell the wife.
yeah. So, I put bigger valves, roller rockers out of a big black Chevrolet in it. They fit nice, but they don't fit in the valve cover, so you gotta buy a special valve cover.
That was all comp cam stuff, right?
Uh,
Comp cam valve,
yeah.
springs and stuff.
Springs and stuff. Yep. So I put a mild cam in it. It's only 515 lift, which is fair. It's got a nice little lope to it.
Yeah.
And put a 4-barrel on it. I got
Lump port too. You put the
put
lump
the
port
lump
in.
ports in. The intake, it's all lump port. It's all polished, ported. 5-angle valve job. I took 35 thousandths off the head. I took almost 100,000 off the block to 0 deck it. I put in LP pistons, In case you don't know what LP is, it's like on a fork truck, you get a big gas tank. They got a smaller dish. I wish now I'd gone flat tops. Next time I blow it up, I will.
And there will be a next time.
Of course. So, this one will twist to 5,500 and not hurt the bottom end. We put all new bearings and bushings and went right straight through it. But I spent a little over $7,000 on it when I got done. So,
But she moves now.
yeah,
Definitely.
It definitely will get out of its own way.
I think it's still starving for some fuel. It needs
It
to
is.
need a bigger,
Yeah, I got to put a bigger carburetor on it. The 390 that I have on it right now, 390 CFM, isn't big enough. It runs out of air about 90, 95 miles an hour. He can testify to it. He said, brought it home and it said on the 98 mile an hour on the street.
And before you suggest it, I've already suggested too about going with like a throttle body, a Holley electronic throttle body. That's out of the question.
No.
He doesn't want anything that's electronic. Basically, it's all got to be manually operated and
Yeah.
everything. So
The only thing I got is the ignition system.
yeah, so
I did go
all
MSD.
old school.
I did go MSD. So that's pretty much run down.
It kind of needed it.
Yeah, we were running out of spark there for
Yeah.
a while. So we put in a distributor and the whole 9 yards.
Those points and condensers weren't keeping up with it anymore.
Nah.
So,
The grill, I made that. That's out of a roof out of a school bus. A buddy of mine has a body shop and he does a lot of school buses.
oh, yeah, that's right. There was one of those scrap pieces they took
Yeah, a
out.
scrap piece out of a school bus. I cut it out and welded it up. Made that. The radiator, 63, 64, 65, Chevy 2. Was the only thing that would fit between the frame rails. That pretty much covers the car.
Is it a 3-core?
No, it's a 2-core. Yeah. Yeah. The 1-core was 110, and a 2-core, 2 rows, was 125. Kind of foolish not to go with the 2.
Yeah. So this is the 292. I know you guys have seen it before in a video I did. It was like a year ago or something,
Yeah,
almost a year
something
ago,
like
something like that. And the car hasn't really been in anything since then. But so it's a 292. He just went all through all the specs and everything with it. His lovely plumbing, copper plumbing here. Everybody said that ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not gonna
You're
work.
gonna get nothing but leaks out of it.
Been there for 10 years.
Yep, 10 years, not a single leak come out of that thing. So.
Yep.
The moral of that story is don't listen to everybody. Do what you want, and if it works, it works. So we got the Clifford intake, and it came with the headers too to match it because, well, the intake and the exhaust are all bolted together. It's all you have to put them on at the same time. You take one off, you got to take them both off. That's just how it is. The headers didn't fit because of the steering box and everything else. So first thing he had to do with the headers is cut them up.
Yep.
So he cut them up, bent them the way he needed to, re-welded them all back together and how they had to be, and this is the configuration he came up with. And they come down. This is probably going to end up getting changed. You can't really see under there, but it dumps out right here behind the driver's door. There's what kind of mufflers are on it right now? Two
Turbos.
two thrush turbo mufflers.
Yeah.
They're not very big mufflers.
13 inch.
Yeah, they're right there if you can see them. But that's where the exhaust comes out. It's gonna probably get changed soon. It's I'm thinking more along the lines of doing a crossover pipe because right now there's no crossover to equalize the pressure in them. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to do a crossover pipe,
Right.
and maybe come up with into one muffler maybe, and do like, or you could probably still keep it with the two mufflers and get like the MagnaFlow mini race bullet mufflers. They're not very big, they're nice and compact and everything, but it'll really, I think, change the tone of it. And with the crossover, I think it'll help with the breathing and equalizing the pressure and giving that a little extra sound. So,
That or we could just say the hell with the mufflers and go straight.
yeah, screw it, you don't need mufflers. So that's pretty much it for the outside of the car.
Oh,
Oh yeah, these right here. This is pool railings.
the swimming pool rail.
Yeah, swimming pool railings that have been polished after you got them all welded up and everything. It's polished them. And they never used to be this shiny.
No.
But over the years of continuously polishing them, they've gotten shinier and shinier.
Yeah.
So
What was nice about using that is they had the bends already. All I had to do was cut them and where I wanted them, piece them back together.
Yep. And it was aluminum, so it's lightweight.
Yep. No, it's stainless.
Or stainless steel, I'm sorry.
It's all stainless.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and move to the inside of the car.
As Corey pointed out once before in another previous video, the steering column, what was it, son?
It came out of a Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Yeah, that was an Eclipse.
91, I think it was. I think it was a 91 Eclipse.
They had airbags.
Yeah, but just before they had airbags.
Out of the junkyard. The seats come out of the same car. So.
I thought those were Hyundai Elantra seats.
Yes, they were. Come to think of it. Because we walked from one, we got this, and I walked down the other car and got these. They're right.
Yep.
I built the floor because it didn't have any. Retained the glove box.
It's important.
It is. As you can see, the minimalistic theme. We got 4 gauges and a GPS.
Basically, the GPS is mainly used for speedometer because the car doesn't have a speedometer. There's the gauges. You got your water temp, your tach right in the center, which is very important, and your oil pressure. And then down here, you got your battery voltage, an extra slot for something down the road maybe.
Yeah.
And an electrical port.
For the GPS.
Yep. Got your switch for the fan.
I forget what the other 2 were because they don't work anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Got an ashtray.
Yep.
We put it in upside down. Because we don't smoke.
Yep.
We don't want nobody to put anything in it.
This is the crank that pushes the window out. Yep. Not going to crank it out for you because it's a bitch to get the molding back in place, or the seal.
Seal. Windshield wiper.
Yep.
We do have one wiper.
It's not on the car, but it can be.
Well, it's here someplace.
So,
I'm not quite sure
wait,
where
one of those switch? No, it's I wired it into this column. That's right.
Yeah, that's over here.
I did a lot of the wiring on this thing.
Right. Headlights and everything are over here.
Yeah, it's all compatible with the car. It was a painless wiring, right? Painless wiring kit that we used. So
that's another thing I want to touch on. When you buy a wiring kit for your automobile that you're building, figure out what you're going to need and don't get anything bigger. If you only need 10 circuits, get a 10 circuit one. Do not, just because it's $10 more, think, well, look at the deal. I only needed 10 circuits, but for $10 more, I got one that was 20 circuits.
You don't even use them.
No, I don't use them. And all I got is a ball of wires up under the dash.
Not being used.
You don't need them.
Yep.
If you're going to buy it, buy the cheaper one. Buy what you need. Don't try to overkill the car.
Unless you're planning down the road to expand it,
right.
then yeah, go ahead and do it. But got some insulation up here. That's because of how hot it is here in Texas.
Yeah, this was riding around in a frying pan.
Yeah, this was never actually up in here until moving to Texas. That's
right.
Yeah, it was just bare metal. No headline or anything, because why do you need that in a race car?
Now,
race car themed car, I should say.
Now you can go online and you can order all of this stuff, real fancy stuff. Comes in 4-foot sheets and stuff for an ungodly amount of money. Or you can do less on the cheap side, like I did. This is to insulate your garage door. You buy it at Lowe's or Home Depot for about, I don't think it was like $8 or $9 a roll. 25-foot roll of it, 16 inches wide. To me, that's the better deal.
Yeah.
It does the same thing. It's in behind the door panels, it's in here, it's in the kick panels, it's under the carpet. We've put it every place. Up the back.
Yeah, it's on the bottom side of the carpet right there.
Yeah.
And that's just laying in place,
Yeah, it stops the heat. That's all that matters.
We do have some storage behind here. It's got a chair back there and everything, so, it's not the greatest amount of storage, but it's better than nothing at all. He's got a couple things up here on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's where the windows are. The car does have windows.
Yeah.
They, as you can see, the felt right here, they just Velcro in place. It works. So here's the back of the car. This was originally way out here. But
Way down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just dropped way down.
That's all got cut off. He reshaped it and everything. All the way around.
And it's all steel.
Yep.
I molded that to look like an old Corvette.
Which is kind of reminiscent of the lights too, even though they're not Corvette lights.
No, they're off in a 69 441 BSA.
There you go. He got that for Christmas last year.
Yeah.
And so he put that in. That actually does work. The brake light does work. So,
Yes, it does.
Little extra safety. So. Okay, so while he's opening up the trunk, right here is a couple bullet holes that were left. And, you know, bodywork's not perfect. It still needs some finishing and stuff like all up through here. But these were all bullet holes as well.
There were 60 bullet holes when I bought it.
Yeah, 60 of them. There's there, right there. A lot of them have been
shot
filled.
up.
Yeah.
This was all shot up. Along here was all shot. So it was shot up pretty good.
Somebody used it for target practice.
Yeah. Again, not a whole lot.
Just enough room for a fuel cell.
Yeah. 16-gallon fuel cell, tool bag.
A little bag of tools, another chair,
Yep.
and battery. Which the battery box is made out of more of the school bus.
Yep.
So
Oh yeah.
it's basic.
The whole trunk is made out of that school bus
Yep.
material.
So that's about it, guys. So this is pretty much the configuration the car is going to stay in for the rest of its life.
Yep. It'll be that way when you get it.
Yep. It'll probably never be painted. And to be honest with you, this will probably never be fixed. It's probably just going to stay the way it is because it's enjoyable. You don't have to worry about it.
Well,
And that's one of the main things with this car. It wasn't made to be a trailer queen. It was made to be driven. And we drive it.
not only that, stock cars have dents.
Exactly, that too. So
They got dirt and dents.
So that's the Streetrod. That's you know where it came from to where it is today. Figured this would be a good video. It's gonna be one of the longer videos. Good way to introduce my father to the channel because, like I said previously with the city car, he's the one that's basically doing all the work on that. He'll be doing more of it soon because it's been so hot out here in Texas. He hasn't really had a chance to do a lot. He's got some of them done, doing some cleanup work on it right now, and he's going to be doing more of that to finish that up. But I figured it would be a good way to introduce you guys to him. And, you know, he can tell you the story of the car better than I can because, well, like I said, he's touched every portion of it. So, but there's the city car. Okay, he's been working on it here and there. As you can see, it's getting a lot of the goop off of it, which isn't easy. So that's this side. And there's what it actually started out with. There's going to be a video coming out on how he's taking all this off. It's quite the project. So he's filming that, and once he's got all that done and everything, then I'll get a video together for it. So thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And there it is. Show off. And make sure you're following Offbeat Motors over on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us over there at Offbeat Motors. Posy.